With Steve Gleason in the house, the Saints pulled a throwback Thursday and partied like it was 2006. All that coming up next on the Black and Gold Today Superdome edition. It was a great night for the New Orleans Saints. Welcome to the Black and Gold Today here, sponsored by Cadillac of New Orleans. I'm Jim Derry, along here with the Saints beat writer and columnist Larry Holder. And Larry, was it the night you expected?
No. Did anyone watch the last time we did Black and Gold Today? No, it was not the night I expected. But look, the Saints, they channeled a bunch of energy. I think they channeled energy from the crowd. I think they channeled energy from the rivalry. I think they channeled energy from playing so poorly last week up in Philadelphia. The offense played better. The defense came out, got pressure on Matt Ryan. I thought that was key. And, of course, the huge block punt by the local boy, Michael Mauti. And I know his dad probably can't stop talking, Rich Mauti. And, of course, it all comes when Steve Gleason is honored once again in front of the home crowd. And so, look, a great night, but it's one night. They need to build upon this to keep this thing going. But, of course, to get the win over the Atlanta Falcons, make them not undefeated anymore, I think that's a huge burst of confidence for this team.
Speaking of Michael Mauti, let's hear what the linebacker special teams guru had to say. Talk about what do you remember from 10 years ago and being here? What do you know, talk about the whole play and then what the dome was like?
That was probably the most, I would say, the most electric environment, sports venue I've ever been at in my life. You know, I still get goosebumps when I think about it. But especially when the pump light is probably like the loudest venue I've ever been at ever. You know, it's just numbing sound. But yeah, I mean, I always looked up to Steve Gleason. He's a hero of mine, and you know, everything he's going through now, and it's special that he got to be here to see that. I mean, that's, you know, I grew up wanting to be like him, so it's a special moment.
An exciting moment for Mauti, who Gleason was he talks about Gleason being his hero and how excited he was, and it didn't really dawn on him right away, and then he hits the locker room, and I think when we first walked in the locker room, he was starting to reflect a little bit, and he got a little emotional.
Well, obviously a huge moment, and of course he was a kid when this happened because it happened, what, 10 years ago? Yeah. And so you look at, he could actually say, look, I one-upped you, Steve, because I scooped and scored. Curtis DeLoach had to do it in 2006, but huge, big old boost of momentum for the Saints. They needed something like that. They needed a quick start. Offense, put points on the board. First drive, then you get that, you're up 14-0. We haven't seen that from the Saints at all this season, and really even last season.
In the sidebar that I wrote tonight, I talked about how if the Saints are able to put some kind of run together, it would have to be magical, but if they're able to put some sort of run, do you think that that is the play that they could look back on as the catalyst to all this?
Oh, I would think so, but you need to obviously get a run going, but you need to generate a home field advantage. I think that brings it back. Not beating a beat-up Dallas Cowboys team, it's beating a previously undefeated Atlanta Falcons team. And when you throw in the block punt, when you throw in the offense playing well, when you throw in the defense playing well, and even though every seat was not filled in this place, don't be fooled, every seat was not filled in this place, but I think that will bring people back. A moment like that, big score, you go up a couple touchdowns, like I said, you get some momentum. They need everything to work in their favor now, right. And I think that it would certainly be a pinpoint, but look, they're still 2-4. They've got a long way to go. I don't think you can start thinking that way until they get over 500, and we've been in seasons like this before, and they've only gotten to 500, never gotten over that threshold.
Well, we talked about the crowd, what the crowd was like in the Dallas game, and then we talked in the pregame about how there was so many tickets to be had and people were down this team. It was Thursday night. Kids got to go to school. I mean, I didn't really know what to expect coming in here, but it was pretty loud. It was pretty exciting. And I got to say, when he blocked that punt, it wasn't 2006 necessarily, no. But it was a pretty fired up crowd.
Well, that's what happens when you get a score early and then you get another big play in special teams and turns into a score. I think that really matters and gets them fired up because, wow, people are thinking the Saints might actually pull this off and not screw it up, right. Because the Saints in the last year and change, they've managed to screw up games like this. And so, especially against Atlanta, you combine it all together, and I think fans were itching, needing this, and I think the team as well. They were itching and needing something like this, and they were able to pull it off on Thursday night.
Well, when we come back from the break, we'll talk about Drew Brees and how that offense was rolling tonight.
What's one of the nicest things that comes with your new Cadillac from Cadillac of New Orleans? 0% interest.
Get 0% interest on all new Cadillacs, now at Cadillac of New Orleans. New owners, new attitude, on Lime Street in Rye in Metairie.
Okay, Larry, we're going to skip the extra point segment tonight because I want to talk about Drew Brees, and he's taken some criticism. He had his injured shoulder. Let's talk about tonight was the Drew Brees that we've been used to for the last 10 years, in my opinion. He looked like the Drew Brees of old tonight, and especially on that opening 12-play 80-yard drive. Went right down the field, looked like the Saints of old.
And it's even more amazing, you bring up that opening drive. Oh, by the way, Andrus Peat is hurt, and he's out for the rest of the game. And Tony Hills.
Who's Tony Hills?
A journeyman who I think maybe played 15 games in his 10-year career. He came in, and look, he probably scared the daylights out of Drew at times, but they settled down. But look, I think you saw him find a comfort zone with Ben Watson, able to find Brandon Cooks a little bit more, able to find Willie Snead when he needed to. And then when the run game got going late, it got going because it took till the end of the game to really get going. But I think it's even more amazing that Drew Brees kind of did this in a patchwork offensive line. No Marcus Colston, remember that. Brandon Coleman had to play a lot of snaps tonight. And so for all of it to come together after such a beating he took last week, and just you would think the confidence would be down in the dumps, for him to bounce back, I think he knows, everybody knows the importance of this game, and he knew it, and I think it spread throughout that unit, and you saw a little bit of confidence, especially as the game kept going.
I'd say you saw a lot of confidence, and he looked like, I'm taking this team on my shoulders, and we're winning this game tonight. So, but let's lastly, before we end the show tonight, let's talk about going to Indianapolis next week. Not an easy place to play. The schedule does get a little bit easier after that, but do you think this team can carry this over? They've had their troubles on the road. We've talked about this, but they got to go to a tough place to play and play a quarterback in Andrew Luck that's been banged up, but he's getting healthy. By next week, he ought to be healthy.
Well, their offensive line isn't very good still, even if he comes back. So I think this defense needs to grow some more. Cam Jordan, 3 sacks. You saw Kikaha get a sack, Edabala get a sack. I think you want to see something from Bobby Richardson, too. And even Kevin Williams got involved, and he's a veteran guy, but you need that front four to get involved again. And so I think you started seeing more growth. That it was a growth spurt in Philadelphia. I think they've come back, and this defense just needs to grow each week. Dannell Ellerbe played outstanding. Delvin Breaux played outstanding, but you need all of those guys playing outstanding against a team like that, and really every week, because this defense, you're used to having an offense to pick up. It's not necessarily going to be the case every week this year.
Well, for Larry Holder, I'm Jim Derry from the floor of the Superdome. We'll be back on Monday and talk about, hey, you can't get enough of this, right? It's a big win. It's the Atlanta Falcons, the Dirty Birds. The Saints are 2-4. They're back in it, right? We'll see. We'll talk about it Monday. Thanks for joining us here at the Black and Gold Today Superdome edition.